Good morning, everyone. We are just going to start while everyone is ticking in and everyone is coming in with a city fair promotional video. So please just feel free to sit back and relax for 2 minutes while everyone is joining.
Welcome to City Fair 2020, Europe's B2B networking workshop for destinations, organised by ETOA, the European Tourism Association, in partnership with European Cities Marketing. This year's City Fair will be more important than ever as we look forward to 2021 and beyond. The workshop will offer one of the first occasions to have open and productive conversations about client needs and their demands for new and adaptive travel product as we enter recovery. 2020 is an exceptional year, and at ETOA we've been hard at work to respond to the changing circumstances, finding a solution to best serve the needs of the industry and our members. A live in-person event would not have been practical this summer. Instead, we will now deliver our tried and tested B2B networking workshop online. City Fair 2020 will provide over 5,000 high-quality meetings between European tourism suppliers and those taking their product to market. A perfect opportunity to reconnect with existing contacts and meet new leads, discovering new ways to work together to ensure a successful and sustainable recovery. The registration and appointment matching system are not changing. As usual, we'll ask you to select and rank your counterparts based on your preferences. We'll then use this data to create dedicated appointment schedules. Of the day of the event, rather than attending in person, all you will need to do is log on to our online portal and participate in your meetings via video link. Once the day's sessions have begun, and again exactly like a typical ETOA workshop, your meetings will run according to schedule. Our system will log you into the next meeting automatically. Sign up today and join your industry colleagues in this cost-effective way to help stimulate the recovery of the European tourism industry. Select, connect and meet. Share your priorities and we can make the most of these very real opportunities on offer in 2021 and beyond.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining this webinar today. Yeah, I would like to welcome you to this webinar. Today we would like to discuss the first signs of recovery for the Nordic and Baltic region. We're going to include perspectives from a destination, an attraction, a wholesaler and a local DMC to understand how their views are with regards to this recovery process and how they're going to work around it. The webinar today is presented by ETOA together with our close partners from the Nordic Tourism Collective. So before I introduce today's panelists, I would like to just give you a quick presentation of our website where we've been updating information about border openings, government's guidelines, and European and international documents that might help you, members and non-members, to look at the recovery. Just 1 second. Good, so you should now be able to see my screen. We are now on the Coronavirus Hub, and on this Coronavirus Hub is where we are going to show you our latest action points. We're going to show you our various emails that we're sending out to our members and non-members. Some of the work we're doing with the UNWTO and the European Commission. We're going to show you the various webinars we're either hosting or we have hosted. We're also going to, we also have a page where you can, as an ETOA member, if you have some innovations, some cool innovations, we can give you the opportunity to be featured here. The coronavirus page itself that I just mentioned is right here. It is very long, there's a lot of different information. It is based on multinational resources, research and resources, and European destinations and source markets. Please feel free to have a look and see if there's any of this that might be interesting for you. If there's any other help you need finding your way around the website, please do not hesitate to contact us. Good, I should now be back. Can you all see me again? Perfect, okay. That's great. So yeah, I would like to start with a presentation of our 4 panelists today. Thank you all very much for joining us today. This is I'm really looking forward to talking to you. Today we have 4 panelists. We have Inga Lien Palstott here. She's the former director of Visit Iceland. We also have Lars Adler Petersen from Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen. And we got Thijs Mercado from Coordinator Lara Global Destination Management by JTB. And we have Vlad Koryagan from the Baltic Travel Group, which is a DMC based in the Baltic states. I would like to start with you, Inge. I would like to start with a view on a destination. So how is recovery looking for Iceland right now? Obviously, historically, Iceland has been focused a lot of its tourism strategy on the international tourism. Obviously, Iceland is now opening up from the 15th of June, opening its borders without a quarantine, but with the limit on international travel, because who knows when tourism will actually pick up to a level that we've seen before. How do you see, have you seen the Icelandic tourism providers change their behavior? Are they focusing more on the domestic tourism products?
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today and share some thoughts. Yes, the Iceland is opening up on the 15th of June, but there will be some testing at the borders, which are still finalizing. But we can see, and I hear from the industry that major routes are going to be opening up around that time. So that's exciting to see how that's going to develop for the destination. But you can really see, and I think it's a little bit inspiring to see how the Icelandic tourism is actually looking at the domestic market. Because historically, we haven't really been focusing on the domestic market or the domestic travelers. We've been really much focusing on the international travels. But safe to say, Iceland only has 350,000 people, so it's never going to be compensating the 2 million people that we had before. But we can see that I think it's the number is around 90% of Icelandic people are going to travel this summer domestically. So you have an opportunity there to do something. And we can see that the government has actually decided to give out a gift certificate to all Icelanders over 18 years old, which is going to be between 30 and 40 euros. And that is actually also pushing the Icelandic Tourist Board and the companies to put everything in Icelandic and to be ready for that kind of a push. And also a small marketing campaign for the domestic market is in line. But what has been interesting to see is that the companies in Iceland are actually putting up offers. They're putting up offers like packages with like hotels, hiking tours, food, and all of that directly for the domestic market. You can also see, for example, a whale watching company that is changing its products a little bit so it's more adjustable for families, or even like a cocktail hour for friends after work to have some kind of sailing after working hours and so on. So it's been really interesting and very inspiring to see that. As well, you can see that the social media is blooming with this. You have Facebook groups showing Icelandic people gathering together, asking each other where should I be traveling this summer and so on. So this is giving a really, I think, a bit of a different view for the destination and an inspiring view in that sense. And maybe this is something that, is there to be, not only for this summer, but for the future.
Thank you. So you think, looking at these products, if they're going to be more focused on what the domestic travelers want, what the Icelandic people want, do you think that might fill that gap between there has sometimes, and especially in 2019, been lots of talk about over-tourism and the gap between the local resident and the tourist. Do you think that this can kind of help close that gap and make it more sustainable?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this because when you think about the over-tourism and you think about the domestic travelers and how they are traveling, I mean, it's vital when you think about sustainability. The sustainability is about, having a low effect on the environment and the local people and the local culture and so on. And also, of course, to look at the SDG. And I think in that sense, when you think about the domestic traveler, it's an important stakeholder. And I think in the past that we haven't really been thinking about it as a stakeholder in the discussion about the development of destinations. I don't know if it's the same in other destinations, but when I think about Iceland, we have been thinking a lot about the locals, and the locals are all connected to the tourism in some way, in the way we've been discussing it. We've also been talking a lot about the international traveler and then the industry itself. but conversation with the domestic market and what kind of a product experience and infrastructure and that part of it hasn't really been part of the equation. And I think it's really interesting to think about, if you give the domestic traveler some kind of a platform and, to have this discussion, maybe we will get, like I've said and talked about, the good story, the story that the people that live in the country, that live and work here, is going to talk about, because who else is going to be, talking about their country in a respectful way and talking about the environment and the products and services, and maybe this is an opportunity to take more part in the development. And like you say, being, over tourism is all about, the conversation haven't been really there about, what kind of destinations you want to be, the part of that story. So domestic traveler, maybe there are underestimated storytellers of our destinations. I don't know, but I think for Iceland, this might be a little bit of an opportunity. But I don't know, like for other destinations, if they have been taking the domestic traveler that much into the equation, as Iceland has not been. So, like I say, it would be interesting to hear from others if they think this is an opportunity or like I say, I think people that live in a country and work in a country, they will show it in a more respectful and a sustainable way than any other.
Thank you, Inga. That's some very interesting thoughts from you. It would be interesting to actually hear from the rest of the panelists, as you say as well. If you think this having the domestic travelers having a bigger impact on what sort of products will be offered this year and then going forward, maybe also to next year, how is that going to change or impact in your product offer, your programs? So maybe starting with Thijs or Vlad, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think, of course, it's always very important to consider the local markets. I even remember, for instance, with Tivoli, that they were very focused on the Danish, and then they were saying, oh, we want to expand a bit to more global many years back. And then we started a partnership with them to expand it to promoting globally. And now it's back a bit more with the focus on the locals a bit for this circumstances that we are living. So I think it is a bit of feeling the balance between catering for both segments, right? The local and the international, and then depending on the strategy of that, the product or the supplier that they're having. So if it's more long haul, or if it's more for foreigners product, or if it's more for the locals. But I think I can see how many destinations have been changing and adapting even infrastructure to cater to make this that the city is only for the foreigners and not anymore for the locals feeling disappear. Like Copenhagen is a beautiful example of that, right? Where they are building more bridges and connecting parts of the cities the city that before was more only for tourists, and now they're making accesses where the locals are biking through and passing by and enjoying that area now. So it's important that both are carried on in good balance, I would say.
Vlad, what are your thoughts?
So I would like to mention that the Baltic states were the first who created the so-called travel bubble, which is now famous as the Baltic travel bubble. And after several months of lockdown, it was a great relief. So finally, we could travel at least to our neighboring countries, and everybody was very enthusiastic about this. And this created also a lot of PR. And the weekend which followed after travel bubble was announced, we could see in the streets of Vilnius, Riga, and Tallinn the cars from the neighboring countries, and we were treating our neighbors like brothers and sisters after these 2 months. And I mean, it was very good, and it was a very good PR campaign in the media, and the Baltic states were in the focus of the world media as the first countries which created this travel bubble, and the people can travel to each other. But this is the positive side of the story. The negative side of the story, we need to admit that the Baltic states are not considered the richest among European nations. We are still developing nations, in terms of our economy. A lot of people are suffering from economic recession, and let's say from financial perspective, the Baltic markets are not that attractive. So many hotels, which are catering for luxury segment, even didn't open. So basically, we are speaking about price-sensitive customers who are mostly traveling with their own cars, who are, let's say, using the services of the shops, but or some economic restaurants, fast food chains, and let's say this type of suppliers, let's say, who can benefit from it. So it's mostly Airbnb, 2-3-star hotels, and fast food restaurants. So there is no business for tour operators, there is no business for 5-star restaurants, and the economical impact is not that big, unfortunately. And of course, again, it gives us some freedom within the Baltic states, but we can say that the tourism can really survive only if we have our neighbors traveling to each other. Another positive segment, which I think benefiting from it is the countryside suppliers, because in the Baltics we have a lot of possibility to travel in the countryside, and there are owners of small private guest house and some manor houses, which also have been serving mostly travelers from abroad. And now I know a lot of people from Riga, Tallinn, and Vilnius, since they cannot or couldn't travel to abroad, they prefer to spend the holidays not in other countries but in the countryside. And I think this segment is booming, but again, there is no business for tour operators, because I think the only companies who are benefiting from this lockdown are international companies such as Booking and Airbnb.
Okay, thank you, Vlad, for these comments. They're very interesting. Lars, how do you see this as Thijs described it, like Tivoli has also been focusing previously a lot of the domestic travel now, and then on international travel, now going back again to domestic. How are you looking at
Tivoli got still quite strong on the domestic market. In the summertime, we are about 60% domestic and 40% foreign. Year on year, 33% international and the rest domestic. And it's also due to the fact that we have a lot of repeat customers coming from the Copenhagen area. We have around 300,000 annual cardholders that visit us more than 2 or 3 times a year. That makes out a lot of our 0.8 million visitors every year. But of course, when we look at the tourists, they have a higher spend per guest, and that's really going to hurt us this summer. We reopen Tivoli on Monday, and it is going to hurt us. So of course we're looking into what part of the domestic segment don't we have at the moment. The 18 to 25-year-olds are not visiting Tivoli as much as they should do. So we're trying to look into can we launch interesting products. We're looking into partnering with partners outside Tivoli as well, to make sure that we create like a whole experience when you come to Copenhagen, not just Tivoli. So we're kind of hanging on to maybe some of the more trendy, for the 18 to 35-year-old, the more trendy concepts like electric boats in the harbor or something like that. So we're doing some product development on that, and then of course we're looking at the markets that will open sooner than others. For the short term, for Denmark, it will be it's Norway and Germany opening up on the 15th of June with a lot of restrictions. You have to book a 6-night stay to come into Denmark, and it has to be outside Copenhagen. So I'm sure Thijs knows all about that. It's a ridiculous thing going on, but we'll have to live with it, and we have to find a way. So of course we're looking at a lot of short-term solutions to what we can do in Denmark, especially product development, doing 2-night stays with local hotels that include the typical tickets. We are looking into staycation products with our NIMP hotel, which has been going quite well actually. We are seeing a totally different mix. Just to let you know, our biggest feeder markets for Tivoli is the US, the UK, and Sweden, and those markets will not be feeding any guests anytime soon. I think even Sweden will take a while. So it's forcing us to look at in other directions, but maybe it's a good lesson for us. We can learn something about how to get some more Norwegians back and some German guests as well, and Icelandic as well, who are also able to travel to Copenhagen.
Thank you, Lars. I'm actually quite interested to hear an amusement park in the middle of Copenhagen that's normally really crowded, with lots of queues, with just lots of people not adhering to social distancing rules in the old normal, in the pre-COVID times. How are you going to open on Monday, and how are you prepared for opening up?
We've postponed the opening a few times. We were supposed to open April 1st. We have postponed a few times. We've been allowed to open since May 27th, but we're waiting for the restrictions on how many people can gather to be lifted. They are supposed to be lifted on June 8th, at least to 30 or 50 people in one gathering. So that's what we've been waiting for, and of course we've been working closely with the authorities to find out the guidelines for opening. So we have opened our restaurants when we could on the 18th of May. We have opened our food hall as well, and then of course what to do in the amusement park. The authorities have allowed us 4 square meters per guest, which calculates into 20,000 guests at one time in Tivoli. But of course we have the whole issue with the rides. I'm pleased to say that we've been working closely with the authorities, and we're now actually able to open all rides except 2. So even the roller coasters will be open. We've been testing. Our head of legal has been in the rides testing with a water gun to see how many water particles will hit the other guests in the face, and doing those tests allowed us to open the rides. Plus, we've developed a new app, a queuing system. So every guest has to book their ride on our Tivoli app. So when you're in the park, you can book up to 6 rides, and you get a push message from the system that will tell you when to go to the queue, and then you'll be able to enter the ride. We actually think this is one of the things that will give a better guest experience than what we did in the past, because there's no waiting around. You don't have to wait for 100 others. You'll only wait with the people who have that time slot. So you can book up to 6 people, and you can book 6 rides as a maximum. And the app will tell you the maximum. We've also included a part of the app where you can book your food. If you don't want to go into a restaurant, if you want to have your lunch outside, you can book your meal in our app and go and pick it up when it's ready. So click and collect the service inside the park. So that's just some of the things we've done, and of course we've done all the regular. We've gone through all of our procedures with sanitizing and the visors for the staff, checking in the guests at the rides. So a lot of things have gone into it, and we've been working closely together with our the company that consults us on cleaning and the control of our kitchens and so on. We've been doing a whole plan since 3 months ago. So we're ready to open on Monday.
That's very interesting. It's interesting about the app you're mentioning, because that sounds like something that could have been developed years ago, because in Tivoli and in all other amusement parks, you can wait for rides for hours just standing in a queue. But this is has the development of this app been pushed forward because of COVID-19?
Definitely. It was in the pipeline as one of maybe 15 projects, and this was just put in in the first spot of projects that we needed to do. So definitely it's been pushed forward, and we did the development in under 20 days, but focused all resources on that on the app, and we've been testing ever since. And of course, the real test is next week when we open, see how it works. With maybe we don't expect 20,000 guests the first day, but we're hoping for a lot of this, of course. But it's definitely it's been pushing us to do this, and also product development. I would say I think we're launching at least 8 new combinations of products that we're launching into the market. Also package deals, including food and beverage, because we have a feeling that people might want to know the exact cost of a visit to Tivoli. So they might want to buy food or dinner or lunch in advance. So we're making that possible as well.
Thank you very much, Lars.
And I guess, Lars, with this app, it will allow you to collect a lot more data also and communicate as well with the customers in a different way, right?
Exactly. I mean, we already have, among tourists, actually, we have a high level of usage of the Tivoli app. But this, of course, will allow us to, if you allow us as a guest, we will be able to send you good offers and push messages and do special deals, even connected to our loyalty program. So that's definitely a good opportunity here, also to develop maybe more digital products in the future. I mean, it's all about reducing the number of touch points as well. So another thing is that we're going towards it's more self-service. There will be staff, but more self-service, so you don't have any physical contact when you go into the garden.
Thank you very much, Lars. It's been very interesting here from a supplier perspective. I would actually like now to get the audience involved. I can see you are sending a lot of questions as well, which is amazing, and I hope we'll be able to get one in a second. But I would like to ask you a question. So this is for the audience to answer this question. So now you should be able to see. Can you see the poll now? Good, you should be able to see the poll. Yes, good. So yeah, the question is, have you noticed changing product interest and requirements from your clients? And you can select more if you want to. And the different options is you've seen no change, or it's simply too early to say. Clients are seeking new health and safety assurances. Clients are seeking different products and destinations. Clients are seeking products away from the cities. Clients are more interested in small group and FIT products than previously. So I'll just let a few more people vote. I can see we already have 37% has voted so far. Please feel free to continue to vote for a little bit. We actually do have a question. We have many questions, but we have a question directly to Lars. If you can visit Tivoli, can you only visit Tivoli if you have pre-booked the rides?
No, you can visit Tivoli whenever. When you're in the garden, then you use your phone and book the rides as you go along. You can book as many as you want, 6 at a time, but just book. So you don't have to pre-book your visit. I know other parts do that, but we don't do that. You can just come and visit us. Of course, if we have more than 20,000 guests, we'll have to say no to some guests, but we don't expect that to happen. Not this year.
Thank you very much. All right, I would like to get a few more people to vote before we go further. All right, we are at 55% now, and I'm going to close it so we can move on. I think we have a good idea about what the votes might be. So thank you very much, everyone, for for voting. And we should now have the results showing up. From my panelists, can you just, the panelists, can you see the results on the screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Good,
Yes,
good.
yes.
Perfect. All right, so 45% are saying this is too early to say. 42% are saying that they are seeking new health and safety guidelines. 19% are seeking different products and destinations. 22% saying that their clients are seeking products away from cities, and 34% of clients are more interested in small groups and FIT products than usual. All right, that is interesting, and it gives a good opportunity now to go to move from the supply side of the destination and of Tivoli to look at, but what are the operators doing and how are the operators managing this? Thijs, these results, are they surprising to you, or is this what you also seeing in Kony, Lara?
Yeah, I think it's no surprise. Of course, certain markets react in a faster pace than others with the comments, questions, but also regarding the restrictions, I think it's a flood of information that everybody's getting all the time from different countries and trying to map out what is the situation right now in Europe. And we have been doing a lot of mapping out, both on the destination side, so the teams have been amazing on that, and each mapping both the borders, but the health policies, the recommendations, and what will be the new normal rules, but also the airlines, because we're very dependent on the seats of the airlines to bring customers in. And not only in mapping Europe or our destinations, but also mapping the source markets and their borders and their restrictions and their travel associations recommendations as well. We have not only the general restrictions or guidelines that they are wanting us to commit to or to be able to cater to, but even on a client basis, sometimes agents have their own guidelines that they would like us to follow, and then we need to map out what suppliers are giving those or are prepared for those guidelines and then match. So it's a big puzzle to put together, and it's a lot of work that the teams are doing, and this is very fluid because it's changing every time. So it's very easy that today's news becomes old news. So it's currently being evaluated and rechecked, and then once this is mapped, then we can create itineraries and do products. But we have also been taking this opportunity to connect it to clients in a different way. So we have been hosting a lot of webinars to various clients, and with great turn up. I think the highest number, and I think we just reached the highest peak of number of participants because of the max cap that we had on the signature. There was 300 packs in one call, and we have done over 20 webinars for the region for Nordics, Russia and Baltics, which is the regions under my command, and over 4,000 customers have joined. So, and we have done in a bigger poll and in a smaller poll, and a more tailor-made session just for those agents. So we're able to educate agents in a different way than what we had before. We had to go to the market and join fairs and join, right? So now it was a bit more intimate, and we removed all these other barriers or other points that have been in the middle of this communication, which I think has helped to maybe inject more information and passion for our destinations into the clients, and knowledge, of course. But we can see that the main points that we are getting as requests is also smaller groups, mainly because of the health policies that are being put in place, and the size of groups that can be gathered at once. So we don't see any, or it will take a few some time for us to see the 2000 packs groups coming in and so on. So we're looking also, of course, we deal with different segments. We do have FIT, and we have groups, both the tour series and ad hoc, but we also have MICE, and we can see also some digital platforms, and trying to innovate the products that we're giving also for MICE customers, and how they can still interact with the destination while still keeping the new normal rules in check. But we also see more demand for flexible cancellation deadlines, or different things that are also part of this new normal, that will be when we will be reaching out also to our suppliers, because there will be a different contracting environment, I would say.
Yes, and I guess when you're working with your suppliers on this, they are also putting a lot of various policies in place, because they need to stick to the guidelines by the governments, and so their costs might go up, and especially if they're having less clients because the groups are smaller, then everything adds up at the end of the day. And if you're doing 2 contracts for the same amount of people as you've done previously, then there's a lot of extra work behind the scenes that are not easily shown.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and again, for me, it's the same workload to send a booking for 40 people than for 12 people, right? So, but now I needed to maybe send 3 bookings to reach the 40 packs turnover, right? To which my workload goes up. So it's things that we are all evaluating and seeing also how we can, with our booking platforms, be more dynamic with that and more digital, and but a lot of, depending on the products, that also demands the local expertise of our local offices and local teams to put the programs together for the agents, because especially the long haul ones that maybe don't have the knowledge of the destination like some of the more closer to home.
So there's a big job. And so going back to what Inga said in the beginning about the local tourism businesses are starting to open up for the domestic travelers and creating new products, that's going to take a while before that actually reaches your clients out in the world, because that takes a lot of communication to work that out.
Yes, we always say within the tour operators that a big part of our job is educate our clients on the products and the knowledge of the destination. But yes, and I think that these webinars have been a great platform for us to make those products reach the client in a faster way.
Thank you, Thijs. That's very, very informative. Vlad, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the polls that we just had? That they are seeking a lot of, almost half of the clients are seeking new health and safety guidelines, but we still have almost half as well saying that they are not seeing any change. So it's too early to say. How is this affecting your business? Is something you can recognize?
Once again, can you please repeat your question?
Sorry. So about half of people here in the poll are saying that they're seeing their clients seeking health and safety assurances, but also another half is saying that they think it's too early to say how business will change. How do you see that from your perspective, from the Baltic?
Okay, I understand. I fully agree with those who say it's too early to make any conclusions, because as Thijs mentioned, we are working with groups, with group series, and let's say the tragedy of this season for all of us is that most of the business which we planned for this year, it was already booked, confirmed, and even paid for. So let's say we still have a hope that part of the business which was confirmed with us for this season will materialize and will not be cancelled. And that's why I think many companies are saying it's too early to say it. We still have a lot of bookings confirmed, not cancelled, for August, September, and October. And I think if the governments will allow us to operate in a normal mode, we will have this business, as it was confirmed, with the same suppliers, with the same programs. Of course, it will be enhanced with the security measures, with the hygienic measures, which are a new normal. But as you know, the programs, they are made, let's say, several years before the tour is taking place, and we are still not releasing our allocations with the hope that something will happen. It's very difficult to change our business model, especially, you know, if you are dealing with overseas markets such as Japan, Australia, Taiwan, and so on and so on. You know that you know, for Japanese tour operators, you know, they create the programs, they check suppliers, and it's very difficult to make any amendments in the program at a short notice. And the same is also valid with many European tour operators, for example, with German ones. Yes, and now I think everybody is waiting for the middle of June, when there should be some movements towards opening the borders and regulation and lifting up, let's say, the regulations regarding traveling within Europe. And when it comes to ad hoc business, you know, we're getting some. I think definitely the focus will be on small group traveling, on automotive customers who are traveling with their own cars. I think this will be very popular. And also, I think there will be a shift to Nordic and Baltic countries from those customers who would not be able to travel to overseas destination. I mean, we know what's happening now in North America, you know, with the riots, with the political instability. We see what's happening in Latin America with the outbreak of COVID in Brazil. I think China as a tourist destination also may not be among the most popular for European travelers. So we are expecting after 15th of June, big increase of ad hoc requests from European countries. But again, for example, the Baltic states announced in the last couple of days the opening of the borders without self-isolation requirements for a majority of European countries. So, for example, we can welcome any travelers from Norway, in Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. However, if the travelers from Norway will visit the Baltic states, after returning home, they will still need to go through 2 weeks quarantine. And taking into consideration this fact, we don't expect any relevant business from Norway before this regulation will be lifted.
Thank you very much, Vlad, and I think that's a good point about the regional travel, that with the quarantine measures, that's going to affect it quite a bit. And I know also that even within the Baltic states, that there are different requirements. So maybe one country says that the infection rate from the visiting country should be below 25. And for another country it should be below 15. So you might think you can come in, you might be able to get into one country, but then you actually can't cross the border. And Baltic states, as I understand it and as I see it, this is 3 countries that you work together when it comes to tourism. A lot of people will visit at least two of those 3 countries when they come from abroad.
Exactly. You know, for many companies, even outside, not outside, just inside Europe, you know, the people still at the Baltics as, you know, just one country. The truth is we are 3 different countries with the different languages, with different culture, with different history, and with different treatment of COVID consequences for the small businesses. And it's also quite, let's say, interesting to see how different countries have different approach towards tourism industry, and we can see, that the countries execute different programs how to help the industries, and some programs I think are quite successful and some beneficial, and some programs are not that successful, and we are still waiting for explanations from, for example, Latvian government, how they are going to help tourism industry. Just yesterday was announced that they're planning to spend some money, and the big question is how the small business can benefit from these programs.
Thank you,
I think it's not only the Baltic, Spain, Vlad, in Scandinavia is similar, right? Most of the itineraries are cross-border, and different countries have taken different measurements, which of course affect the whole planning of everything. And like you said, not only the border opening is a key factor, but the having no quarantine demand, that because people don't want to travel and then be locked down somewhere, needing not be able to experience anything.
And also quite important is the measures of support, because again, in some countries, I know in Scandinavia, the people who have been affected, the companies who have been affected by coronavirus, they had some generous support from the state when it comes to the wages. And let's say in other countries, the support was not so generous. And in our business, in tour operator business, the major cost is the staff. And taking into consideration that the business will not resume normally till the next year, this is now, I think, the big problem: how to keep the staff motivated even without business in the next months. And I think without proper support from the state, the industry might lose a lot of people who might choose working for other industries which were not affected by corona crisis as travel industry. I think the cash problem will be the major problem for the travel companies in the coming months.
Thank you. I can see both Inga and Lars are nodding here. Do you have any comments to this, or any comments to the poll we had before? I would like to get into our second and last poll, but before that, it would be good to get some comments from you as well.
Maybe if I start, I was just thinking it's not only about opening up the borders, it's also about testing at the borders, or if it's not testing, and how much the testing is going to be. That's one of the conversations we have here in Iceland, who's supposed to be paying for the testing and who's not, and so on. So there's a lot of complications that we still haven't finalized anywhere in the world at this point. So it will be interesting to see, because there's so many opening up the borders on the 15th of June, and how the booking status is going to be, and so on. So that's my comment. But maybe just one more comment also on the safety and that part of it. I know everyone is thinking about the safety, and it's very, very much important, and it's of course a part of the business today. But in my view, we have to be very careful about talking about safe destinations in that sense. And talking about the safe destination, like Iceland has been chosen the safest destination in the world for many years. But I've never wanted to use that in the marketing, and it's not a promotional tool in my mind. It's something that is a part of your business and part of the way that you're doing your business in a positive way, if you're doing it right. And if you're using it as a marketing or a promotional tool, it can backlash very badly for your image as a company. So I just wanted to make a note on that you have to be careful about that part of it.
Thanks a lot. Vlad, before I go to you, Lars, do you have a comment to that?
But I think I think we will see people going for the safe destination. I totally agree with Inga. You shouldn't market you on that, but of course, when you choose your holiday destinations, for instance, for Danish people, we are allowed to go to Iceland, Norway, or Germany, avoiding big cities, and there's no quarantine. But for our company, if I go to Italy this summer, there will be a 2-week self-paid quarantine afterwards, and I think that will affect a lot of people. Of course, it would be fantastic if everything, all restrictions were lifted all over. I think the main thing as a business, what we all need to do is to put some pressure on our local authorities in terms of getting some long-term plans, because our biggest problem right now, we have quite a large event business at Tivoli Gardens and an Nymph Hotel. Our biggest problem is that we don't know how many people we can gather, and we don't know what it takes for us to be able to welcome 200 people or 300 people for an event. Right now we're booking a lot of Christmas parties and it's going really well, but we actually don't know if we're able to host those parties and host those events, international conferences as well. I think we need, as a business, we need to put a bit of pressure on the authorities to get some kind of an idea of what does it take for each country to open up, because we need to do some more long-term planning, I think. And right now we're just going from week to week. Every Friday we get a new piece of news, and then we work around that. And to me, that it's quite expensive to do it like that. Just my opinion.
I fully agree, Lars.
Yeah,
I will. I'm going to open the second poll we have, and then when I've opened that, then Vlad, you had your hand up, but I'm just going to open that before, because that actually goes back to what you said earlier, Vlad, about that you are expecting more ad hoc requests coming in the late year. So I'm just
Yeah, I
going
want to touch upon this.
So the question is, do we expect relative demand for Nordic and Baltic region to increase post-COVID-19? And the questions, the answers are either yes, a higher demand, no change in demand, or lower demand. And it would be great if we can get the audience to vote here as well. And I can see, yes, you are already voting. Thank you very much. And in the meantime, Vlad, back to you.
Yes. What I want to say is that the Baltic states were less affected by coronavirus as such. And I think it's due to the fact that the density of population in the Baltic states is one of the lowest in Europe. And there is even a joke that when the governments introduced social distancing 2 meters, people started to ask, why we should be so close to each other, because normally the distance between people in the Baltic is much bigger. Of course, it's a joke, but suddenly, due to the fact that we were less affected with coronavirus, the Baltic states became in the media as the safest destination within Europe. Just recently, Forbes was publishing several, let's say, hit parades. Like one was the safest beaches to travel this summer, and the beaches of Jūrmala and Nida in Latvia and Lithuania were named as the best in terms of social distancing and safety. And yesterday again, Forbes magazine published a list of the safest countries to visit this year, and Latvia, Lithuania also was mentioned as the safest destinations in terms of COVID sequences. And I think this gives to the Baltic and Nordic countries a good opportunity to promote itself within European Union, within Schengen zone, because many people which let's say were not considering traveling to our part of the world, and let's say for whom Baltic states were maybe a third or fourth tier destinations they want to visit. I think suddenly this situation with Corona crisis can be a trump for us, and if we play it wisely, we can really see the increase of travelers within European Union. Again, the big question is when the borders of Schengen zone will be open, and when we could welcome travelers from America, from Australia, from Asian countries, because in the long term, these markets are very important for our destinations, and so far there is no let's say clear indications when the traveling from these long-haul markets will be resumed. But I think it's very important because I think both for our company, both for GTB, Asian market is extremely important. And let's say if we know that there will be no traffic, within the next let's say 12 months, we need to plan our human resources accordingly, because again, if you want to work with this market, you need to attract the people who speak the languages, who know the mentality, and these people cost a lot of money. And without clear indication what is going to happen with this faraway destination, it will be very difficult to survive from financial perspective.
Thank you, Vlad. It's really really interesting comments. And I think looking at I'm just going to share. I've closed the poll now, and I'm going to share the results with you now, which is that yes, like you're right. According to our attendees, we are actually seeing a 47% higher demand for the region, for the Baltic and Nordic region. Although 28% are seeing a lower demand, and 25% are saying no change. But if we look at the 47% higher demand, I would like to ask you, Inga, as you having worked in destination management for a long time, how can we go together? How can the Nordic and Baltic region promote itself better to ensure that demand is going to be even increase more than this and have an advantage in the European picture?
I've talked about three kind of groups that will be traveling, who will be the first one to be traveling, and not packaged in that way, but I say that people that will be traveling the first is the people that are family and friends who are going to be visiting them. And the second group is the people that want to take a break from the sort of the COVID and want to go hiking, want to go the outdoors and not to crowded places at all. And the third one is sort of the how do you sort of go to known places where you have been before, to a place that you know how it is and how everything is going to be, a friendly place in that sense. So you're not going to an exotic place in that sense. So I think that's one of the reasons why the Nordics and the Baltics is going to be, of high demand in the future, and how you can be looking at this is sort of the green and clean environment and the society that we live in as well, the lifestyle. I think all of this is a part of how we can promote our countries and our destinations in that sense. And I think especially the lifestyle is something that people will be looking into, and the outdoors. I think there's a lot of people out in the world that are really looking forward to get out at the moment.
Get out of the house, yes, definitely.
Clean and fresh air.
Clean and fresh air, exactly. That's not how it is here in South London, but Lars or Thijs, do you have a final comments? We will have to finish within the next 2 minutes, so it would be great to hear a last final comments from your side on this.
I think like Inga, in the lines of what Inga was mentioning, I think people will travel more with a purpose, because they realize that nowadays there will be a risk whenever they would be traveling. So especially people that are using tour operators and so on, they are in a most probably very close or already in the risk group. So therefore they will be waiting which destinations to go and how to travel and so on. So but I believe that given those criteria that they will be wanting to tick on their boxes, in our region we have all of them. We can cater for all of them, right? Like Inga was saying, it's fresh air in the least dense populations in Europe, and we have also very digital and self-service society, so you can really go around the city and without needing to touch so many touch points or having contact with a lot of people if you choose. So I think we have all the the elements to make a safe travel for the customers that choose to come, and the elements that they would be longing for into this first post-COVID.
Thank you. And
So
last,
just come.
I totally agree. No further comments.
that is good. I think I would like to finish this webinar now on a high, because I think this is good results, and I think there's definitely, looking at the Nordic and Baltic region, there's a lot here to offer, and with all of your innovations, I can hear that you have then hopefully that's going to be one of the first regions to actually really invite and incorporate the international tourism, albeit maybe not the long-haul international tourism, but the European and the regional tourism. So thank you all of you for participating in this panel today. It has been really informative, and all of your views have been really interesting. And I'm looking forward to talk more to you about this subject in the future. Any questions from the audience? Any questions from the panelists? Just let me know afterwards. And yes, thank you very much, and have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. And see you in the Baltics and Nordic.